For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. So Scott, when he was born, he changed my life. That night, I cried all night long. It was the longest night of my life. The next morning, I turned to what I learned in Sunday school, and it's all in Genesis 1. I knew that God created Scott in his image. I also knew that everything that God makes is good, and so everything has to be good. However, it's easier said than done.
I was at P&G for almost 20 years and planned to stay there, so I knew that I wanted to leave and be the one who raised him. I like to say that all those years at Procter just developed the skills I needed to help Scott to kind of translate negotiating contracts to advocacy and removing barriers and finding solutions for him.
So fast forward 25 years, and I would never have thought that I'd be starting a nonprofit called the Genesis at Work Foundation, meaningful work for God's children with special needs.
I attended a seminar when he was very young, and the keynote speaker made a point about the importance of socialization and what happens after school if there's nothing to go to. It's isolation, it's depression that results from that isolation. And I knew at that point I never wanted that to happen. And so I was always looking for ways to encourage him to be with people and bonding.
80% of the adults with special needs are not employed. That's really the reason for this organization.
If people with special needs are not going out into the workforce and not going out and meeting other people, that's something that other people are getting deprived of. And so I love that Scott is out there and getting to know all these people and having this impact on other people's lives, and that's truly what's inspiring to myself and to my parents.
I believe every human being has the right to flourish, and that we should help create opportunities for that. Work, and meaningful work, gives a person an opportunity to have relationships, to have a sense of accomplishment, to have meaning.
Unfortunately, there's bias, and unfortunately, there's companies that might not understand the impact that someone with special needs could make in their organization, and having someone to speak for those individuals and kind of exhibit that and put that example out there, I think is extremely important to get that message across of how impactful it can be.
I think with Scott working for the company and doing meaningful work, it showed him that he doesn't just have to be a sit-at-home guy or go to school and go home. I think it opened the world up to him, and he realized that he could pretty much do anything he wanted to do.
All these individuals bring something to the table. And if we can get the word out and spread that word, I think it's only more positive for us moving forward.
The more success stories, the more that this is promoted, that people such as Scott, that how productive and how meaningful they can impact people, and much less have an occupation or a job day to day. I mean, that's important for Scott. But I'm looking at it from the other thing, is that what Scott learned by being a part of our group and team is going to help him, but he's helping us without even knowing that he's helping us.
I think Scott gives a lot to us as far as being a manager, trainer, helping us. But what he really brings is a perspective to the team, like something that you're just not going to get if you don't bring a guy like Scott into the fold.
Why wouldn't they be given the same opportunity as anybody else? Just because, I mean, Scott's just as good at anything that anybody else can do, as from a manager role to whatever role you need Scott to do. And it's just like, I think it's a great idea for kids out there to be able to be employed and help around the world.
With my experience with Scott, seeing what he's capable of doing, I know that both companies and individuals looking for work will benefit greatly from this foundation.
I know that work for Scott has brought more meaning and purpose in his life. This organization has exceeded my expectations. I'm amazed at the people who are connected with this mission and who are willing to jump in and help.
To us, special needs wouldn't do anything to describe Scott. To us, he's just another one of our guys. He's there with us, and he's just our guy, no matter what. And we just love having him there. He's to us, he's just like every other one of us.
It's very rewarding to know that he's happy, he's fulfilled, and that he's fulfilling God's purpose for him, which is touching other lives and making the world better one new friend at a time.